Jai students, you are welcome again. Today we are going to study poem number 3 from uh, main course book Flamingo, that is Keeping Quiet by Pablo Neruda. And first of all, before beginning of the poem, we are going to discuss main features of the poem, from where generally that questions are asked. So we will discuss all those important points. So let me share with you on your screen those important points which we are going to discuss today. Please wait a minute. Okay, now you can see, children, Keeping Quiet, poem number 3 by Pablo Neruda. Since the poem is quite simple, but it has a very strong message which poet Pablo Neruda wants to convey to all of us. So let us see those important points, main features of the poem first. So here, that first let us discuss about the poet. Means we will see a brief introduction of the poem Pablo. Here we will discuss briefly about the poet Pablo Neruda. Pablo Neruda, who was born in 1904 and was died in 1973, is actually the pen name of Neftali Ricardo Reyes Basualdo. That is the full name of Pablo Neruda, and Pablo Neruda is the pen name. And Pablo Neruda was born in the town of Parral in Chile. Pablo Neruda took active interest in the politics of the country. Sometimes he was forced to live out of Chile due to his political views and activities. In spite of his political activities, he continued writing poetry. Means that he was so much interested in literature and poetry that even in spite of his political activities, political busyness, that he continued writing poetry. His poems reflect his political views and activities as well. All his poems are full of easily understandable images which make them no less beautiful. That is the remarkable thing about the poet Pablo Neruda. Pablo Neruda won the Nobel Prize for Literature in the year 1971. And as much as this poem Keeping Quiet concerned, in this poem Neruda talks about the necessity of quiet introspection and creating a feeling of mutual understanding among human beings. Remember, student, this is important because this is the theme of the poem. And he wants people to seize every activity. He wants people across the world to suspend their every activity for a moment in order to experience perfect quietude. perfect stillness, perfect silence. And in that perfect silence, people will be able to communicate with one another across the world. This is the thinking of the poet Pablo Neruda, and this kind of message he wants to convey through this beautiful poem. Now let us see that another point, that is the introduction of the poem. The poem is this poem Keeping Quiet is very suggestive, as it explains the importance of quietude and calmness, stillness. The poet wants through this poem, the poet wants us to cease every activity, to stop every activity for a moment in order to experience a perfect calmness, perfect silence, perfect stillness, so that people can introspect. Introspect means that people can examine their activities, examine their thoughts, whether they are the part of positive activities or they are the part of the negative activities. And in this poem, Keeping Quiet, the poet lays emphasis on the importance of stillness, peace, and calmness. He also talks about the necessity of quiet introspection and creating a feeling of mutual understanding among human beings. Through this poem, he discusses the problem of strained human relationships, means distorted human relationships. He also suggests that people should cease every activity for a moment to do introspection, to analyze their activities. And in that moment, they should analyze themselves, analyze their activities, and the meaninglessness of their hectic life. And they should allow, because that due to their hectic life, they don't have any rest, and they don't have any comfort, any relaxation. For that, it is necessary to suspend their activities for some time. And in the poem, he also mentions that he does not advocate total inactivity, because total inactivity means pessimism, which he does not advocate. And he also suggests that life should be lived with positive attitude. And he further says that he does not want to ponder over death and become passive and sad. He also suggests that people should develop cordial relations with one another. And here in this poem, since this poem is very simple and written in straightforward language, the poet discusses the problem of human relationships and Pablo Neruda invokes the symbol of earth to convey that there can be life under apparent stillness, apparent clear, complete calmness. And he that ends this poem with this message which we can learn from the earth. Now this was about the poem, means introduction of the poem. Now let us discuss the next point, that is theme of the poem, Keeping Quiet. And here in this poem, Keeping Quiet, the poet talks about the necessity of quiet introspection and creating a feeling of mutual understanding among human beings. Remember, students, this is the theme which we can find in the beginning of the poem. Also it is mentioned that when you will read about the poet, that part, this theme always keep in your mind. And here the poet wants us to stop every activity for a moment in order to experience perfect stillness, calmness, perfect peace, which provides us complete satisfaction. And in that perfect silence we will be able to communicate with one another without suspending our activities, our every activities for a while. We will not be able to communicate with one another, and that's why he emphasizes on keeping quiet for a moment. And we will realize the necessity of understanding one another if we will suspend all our activities and keep quiet. The poet also emphasizes the need of the need to reflect what we have made of this world. The world in which we live leaves us with no rest or respite, because the machines go on moving and wars are being fought recklessly in the modern world. The whole environment is being vitiated, and means whole environment, our environment is being harmed nowadays a lot. And in order to better the world we live in, we need a break, we need a halt, a break with our feverish present to start a new. We want a break from the hectic life to restore our energy, to introspect and start our life in a new way. This is the theme of the poem. Now let us discuss that another feature, that is the message. Though the poem is very simple, but through this poem the poet Pablo Neruda wants to give a strong message to whole of the humanity. What is it? Let us see. The poem conveys the idea that too much rash, reckless activity has turned our world into a feverish and hellish place. So there is not even a single moment of rest and relaxation for all of us, and even of self introspection for any one of us. Means due to the has due to the um, due to the hectic life, hectic routine of our life, that we don't get a time of relax for us, and that's why we are unable to introspect our activities. And uh, that's why that we are, because since we are busy with our activities so much, which harm us physically as well as mentally. Means we don't have, due to our uh, hectic life, that we don't have any physical or mental peace in our life. Hence there is the necessity to keep quiet for a moment, relax, introspect, because until we become relaxed, we will not be able to introspect. And when we will introspect, then only we will be able to know whether our activities is fruitful or harmful, whether we are the part of constructive work or destructive work, whether our activities is in positive direction or in negative direction. All this we will be able to understand when we will suspend all of our activities for some while. We will take rest, we will keep quiet and introspect, and in this way we will be able to communicate with others, and we will be able to develop a mutual understanding among all of us. Now let us see that another important point, that is the poetical devices. As I have already told several times, that at least 1 mark question will definitely be asked from the poem. So that poetical devices, figure of a speech, that we should also focus in every poem. And here in this poem, basically that from where that questions are asked, those things we will discuss here. Like when we talk about the poetic devices, so basically 2 important poetical devices has been used in the poem. That first one is alliteration. Like somewhere we can see that alliteration has been used very beautifully and frequently in the poem. Like serene strangeness, there we can find that alliteration is there. Clean clothes, alliteration, another example of alliteration. And then his hurt hands, there is also that repetition of the same sound, that is the alliteration. Apart from this, that one important particle device is used, figure of a speech used in the end of the poem, to convey a message to us, that what we can learn from the earth. And here that perhaps the earth can teach us, here earth has been personified. So remember student, this question has already been asked in your board examination. So keep in your mind that in this sentence, that in this expression there is a personification, because earth has been personified. And in this way that we have discussed all these important points. of the poem, and now that we can also discuss, we can start our poem. So here you can see that this as much as about the poet concerned, that we have already uh, discussed about this, but even then you can go through once about this all, and from where you have to focus actually, that from here, that in this poem so you can see this much, that in this poem Neruda talks about the necessity of quiet introspection. As introspection, as I have already told, introspection means that examining our own thoughts, that is the introspection. So here in this poem Neruda talks about the necessity of quiet introspection quietly, and creating a feeling of mutual understanding among human beings. This is the theme of the poem. So this line you must underline in your book. Now let us discuss some other things. That before you read, what does the title of the poem suggest to you? The title, keeping quiet. Keeping quiet means suspension of activities for a while, and keep quiet. So that is about the title, because justify the title of the poem. This question is this question is very important, which has been asked frequently in your board examination. So you should also know the answer of this, means how if you will have to justify the title, you can, so that you can justify the title keeping quiet. What is the importance of keeping quiet? What is the significance of keeping quiet? Or justify the title of the poem keeping quiet. Same question, and you have to write the same answer for this. Now let us begin the poem. Now here we can see that now the poet begins the poem. Now we will count to 12, and we will all keep still. But before that, we should also, before beginning of the poem, let us know that nowadays, that why keeping, what is the importance of keeping quiet? Because nowadays that people of the world are always in rush and hurry. They are that people are over active and always on move. Their activities lead them a lot of suffering, and because of their activities, because of their haste, because of their rush, they have already faced a lot of problems, a lot of suffering they have to face. And here the poet suggests that keeping quiet will do them a lot of good. Keeping quiet can provide them some respite from their hectic life, and being still and silent will save them from many harmful activities. And now let us see that how this message through this poem poet wants to convey. See the first line, that now we will count to 12 and we will all keep still. That here the poet appeals, now we will. The poet does not say I, rather that he say we. Me means he wants to involve all the people across the world with him, and he says that now we will count to 12, means all the people across the world all the people who are living on the earth will join him while he counts up to 12, and we will all keep still, and all together all the people across the world will become silent, will keep quiet. And now we will count to 12. Why he has that taken this number 12 only? Because generally that our working hours are 12. All the activities, all the violence, all the positive activities, all the negative activities, all the constructive activities and destructive activities are generally performed in these 12 hours. And that's why, and it may also be suggested that in our clock 12 hours are given, and that might be a reason because of that the poet has taken 12. So the poet says that now we will count to 12 and we will all keep still. The poet says that he appeals to all the people to join him while he is going to count 12, and all together all the people across the world will become silent and keep quiet for some while by suspending all their activities. I think that we should stop here today, students, and that poem, the explanation of the poem, we will see in our next class. So now student, it is better just you go through, since this poem has already been taught to you, so it is revision time for you as much as this poem concern. And then if there will be any doubt, that doubt will also be clear to you. And since the study notes had also been provided to you, and you can also go through the study notes thoroughly for your better understanding. That's all for today, children. Good day to all of you, and thank you.